What's up gamers, Dreamcastguy here, coming at you today with another episode of Does It Suck? The show where we take a deep dive look at a new game and see what's good or bad about it. Now this time around, we're going to be checking out the Call of Duty Modern Warfare beta. This is actually a huge chunk of the multiplayer that includes pretty much all the guns and several different maps to blow people up, and really gives us a really good impression as to what the final game is going to play like. Now there have been a couple little tech tests and alphas that have existed beforehand, but those were much tinier. This is the first time where we're actually getting a large chunk of the final game, and honestly, I am a little bit impressed by this. Perhaps more than I even expected to be, because this game is actually easy. Very easy. It's just so quick to pick up weapons and shoot people and cut down a bunch of opponents and start doing upgrades. No aspect of this is actually hard in any way. There have been certain Call of Duties that have tried to be more complicated and have extra intricacies like different class systems and all sorts of weird point-based upgrades, and this time around they're definitely just trying to reverse things back to basics. This is basically the exact same Call of Duty that we fell in love with 10 years ago, back on the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. This is the OG amazing game of Modern Warfare coming back with a fresh coat of paint and a lot of very interesting little tweaks. Now the first thing I really want to address is actually how this game plays. The last couple years, it seems like Activision is trying to really modify the experience of their first-person shooters. What I call it is the pyramid of change, which is speed, power, vitality. They want their games to be faster, they want their guns to be stronger, and they want your health to be smaller. This creates a sense of tension, a sense of almost release when you die because you're just so on edge. But honestly, it is just so perfectly personified in Call of Duty itself. I really think that Modern Warfare does a lot to make it where you are just constantly running around at the edge of your seat, ready to get shot or try and react faster than your opponent. But a big reason for this is because they've actually removed the radar. This time around, you're just having to use your own senses, and a big part of this is the newly introduced noise system. As technology continues to advance, we've definitely seen a lot of different innovations, different ways to try and look at games, and game developers are constantly trying to push the envelope. But something they're doing here is everything is very well done when it comes to just audio design, to a genuinely a shocking degree. Essentially, when you're sitting there and actually just keeping your ears open, or if you have a really good pair of headphones on, you can hear every single person on the map, their steps, when they're trying to sprint, that desperate reload. But more than this, you can actually treat the sound as a weapon. Since you don't have a mini-map except when you call in a UAV, which is like a radar, basically a kill streak, the only way to really find people is when you look up at your radar, you can see the noise they make. It will actually mark when people are being particularly noisy. Now the reason this is important is because of things like the doors. There are all sorts of little barriers around the maps now that you can just slowly try and open as quietly as possible or sprint into and break them down. Now while you can just, while you're in a desperate hurry, crack down one of these surfaces and go sprinting out the other side, you're going to make a bunch of noise. Alerting people to your position or being careless when you're trying to get across the place quickly is going to get you killed. Where this game really shines brightest is that it's no longer just about reaction speed or how fast you can aim. The clear thinker is truly the most deadly animal. I mean, the person who's able to just sit here and calculate where exactly opponents at and track them down before they can get stunned themselves is a great chance to show that the best players are actually going to be the best thinkers. I like that they're actually kind of creating some real intelligence to Call of Duty, and I'm still just kind of shocked that even I'm saying that. A shooter that a couple years ago was considered the most dumb, goofy mess ever with a game like Call of Duty Ghosts has managed to refine itself once again. Now, going back to the Triforce of power, of speed, power, and vitality, I want to talk about the simplified loadout system. So each of the Call of Duties has this same sort of setup where basically before you go into a battle, you get a chance to go into the menus themselves and create a predetermined set of weapons. Basically the guns you like most and the perks that you enjoy to use in combat. Pretty obvious, right? Well, here they've definitely just brought it back to basics. There's not a lot of the crazy over-the-top stuff anymore. There's none of the weird, complicated complicated systems in this. It's basically just picking the stuff you like, abandoning the stuff you don't, and giving you a chance to really tailor your character to fight your way. And I'm glad they did this because while we are having a little bit more of a basic style of upgrades, Call of Duty doesn't need to be crazy. Call of Duty doesn't need to be this rocket science shooter. It just needs to be fun, and it seems like this Modern Warfare is actually doing that. The main thing that I think is really going to hit players though while playing this beta, or if they pick up the final game, is that this is definitely trying to do everything at a different pace. Everything is managed to be tweaked or overhauled in some way. Like, you actually regrow your health relatively fast. If you manage to hide from getting shot, you can be at full health again in just a second. Or something like, you actually don't slide as far, so trying to actually slide into a giant base and tag a point and shoot 15 people is not as possible as it once was. Nearly every single aspect of this has been modified in some way to definitely try and tailor the experience to be all about the character. It's really clearly trying to exemplify the fact that your choices matter. Like, just as a random example, something I've definitely noticed is that bullet penetration seems to have been turned way up. You cannot just hide behind a cardboard box anymore and it's just magically made of Kevlar. You need to actually be out there and be fighting, because if you hide, there's still a good chance that those bullets will find you. But I like that. I like that there is a real sense of pushing you to fight back. There's no longer just this option to escape, escape, escape. Throughout the course of this, I racked up hundreds of different kills, and a lot of them were practically by pure luck, where I managed to find somebody and force them into panicking and then maximize on their mistakes. I like the fact that Call of Duty is trying to become the true hardcore shooter once again. Call of Duty tournaments have never been something I particularly liked watching, mostly because it seems like each one of them manages to tweak things in sometimes the wrong direction. But when it comes to this game, I might actually watch a CoD championship because I like the way that this is tooled. I like the fact that there is just so many different ways to play a single set of weapons. With all that being said though, I did run into two things that I consider to be very bad problems. One of them is fixable, and one of them kinda isn't. Now the thing that could be repaired is that I think that the way the respawns work in this is just extremely flawed, which is that essentially every time a character dies, they're given another spot on the map to just pop back up. If several players die within 5 seconds, you will respawn as a group. This is a pretty obvious system. It's something that's done in a lot of different first-person shooters. That way you're not continually getting picked off. But the issue is that you just get spawned in a randomized location, which means that there have certainly been times where I died, I respawned, and then I immediately got hit by like a cruise missile, or I respawned at a place that somebody was aiming, which meant that I would die, revive, and die again within 2 seconds. And to me, that's not a good system. Now additionally, this has another downside, which is that since the spots you're coming back are randomized, I definitely noticed that in some maps, you can't help but be shot in the back. No matter how good you're doing, no matter how much you're communicating with your teammates, eventually you will be shot in the back of the head from a new player just appearing behind you, and there's nothing you can do about it. It seems like they need to try and tweak the algorithm that tries to systematically place you, because right now it's just definitely not perfect. Now the other aspect of this is that the Call of Duty community is still sometimes a little bit weird. While playing online, I just had to immediately mute my microphone because so many of these people are just screaming or blasting music or playing what sounds like sound effects of dogs beating each other. I mean, I don't know why, but Call of Duty is definitely the one game where you just do not want to ever listen to the mic. I don't know why anybody even plugs a microphone in, because all they're going to play is really blown out Kanye West or something. And additionally, people even have really bad names like Diaper Drinker or Mother Nutter. So I'm just warning you that this is not normally the kind of game that you're going to make best friends on unless you happen to make a really cool clan. That being said, I'm excited and very hopeful for Call of Duty Modern Warfare. I still definitely recommend you do not pre-order it because this is Activision and we can't trust Activision. They use your pre-order numbers to make the games sometimes a lot worse. So just keep that in mind. I love you guys very much. much, thank you for watching, and tell me what you thought of the Call of Duty Modern Warfare beta in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.